Hello there and welcome back to Japan, where we got a very, very special episode of the Baka Breakdown, where we begin counting down the top 10 baby metal songs of all time, as per my personal opinion. Now, if you've been with this channel for a while, or if you're new, I might as well tell you, it's been a long road since January where I was first listening to baby metal, and since then, we've listened to every single baby metal song, as far as I'm aware, certainly all the ones from the first two albums, and even some of the ones that have been pre-released off of the new album. Now, what I should point out is that for this particular review, we're going to be concentrating on my top 10 from the first two albums, not any of the newer songs. Now, the reason for this specifically is because obviously when Metal Galaxy comes out, not too long from now, from what I hear, I think it's going to be in October, we want to jump into that and do a track by track of that as well, and, you know, maybe update this list at that time. But until then, we're going to have a look and see what's the best things that baby metal have produced up until that point. Now, you're probably thinking to yourselves, okay, this is very subjective to opinion, so how did I come up with this list? Well, obviously, it is my personal opinion, but I wanted there to be a slightly technical side to it as well. So I constructed myself a list, which basically gave every single one of the songs which I've been listening to very regularly since the reviews, it gave them points on things like writing, how catchy they were, the emotional qualities, how fun they were, how creative and original, you know, how much they pushed themselves, and also I gave some points for personal bias as well, just if a song just kind of appealed to me, less points for that, but just enough to push some of the tiebreakers. Now, this scoring system meant that every song could score out of basically a top score of 15, and we had the top songs came basically to 14 points, pretty much perfect in my opinion. But the reason I'm doing a top 10 is because, as you can imagine, around the middle of my votes, because I did points for every single song, there was a lot of songs that kind of came into this exact same score, you know, the ones where you're thinking, okay, this is just them doing what they do really well, but maybe nothing stood out enough to make it, you know, make them easy to weigh up in that kind of way, you know, pick preferences. So I am just doing a top 10. Vast number of the songs, actually. Of the less than 30 songs, I think 7 of them got exactly 9 points, which just gives you an idea of what I mean. So anyway, enough waffle, as I usually say, and I usually do. So let's jump straight in with number 10 and see what is going to be starting us off. And remember, today I'm doing numbers 10 till 6, and stick with us because in 1 week we'll be coming back to do numbers 5 to 1. If you're not watching this in the future and we've done it already. Number 10. So, Our Dama Fever. I know this is a song that a lot of our commenters actually quite like. It's not for everyone, but it seems to basically be quite a popular one. And I think the reason for that is the instant sort of charge of energy, and it never really lets up. It's a very simple song. I wouldn't say it particularly pushes baby metal in any way. It's not one of those ones where you go, wow, they're really pushing their barriers. But, you know, it's one of those songs that stands out for just being completely energetic throughout. If you like it at the beginning, you're going to like it all the way through. It's got a great catchy chorus, very infectious sort of sound to it. Also fantastic production, which is a great thing as well. So just all of the sounds click. Like I say, it's not going to sort of push you, and I think you're probably going to work out if you like it pretty early on. But if you do like it, you're going to like it a lot, and it's going to be one of those songs that I think you can play it in the foreground and really get into it, or you can just play it in the background and, you know, do your workout or whatever. But great song, Our Dama Fever. So let's move up one to number 9. So GJ, I think this might be a little bit of a controversial one. I'd be interested to see how many people agree with me on this one. Basically, GJ to me gave a real sort of air of being like a new metal homage almost. Now, it's one of the most rhythmically interesting songs by Baby Metal. I'm not saying it's particularly experimental on that element, but it really does focus a lot on having rhythm. You know, with a lot of metal songs, you get the charging double kicks and things like that. So to hear something like this, which sort of has more of a bouncy, like I say, slightly new metal-y feel, is quite interesting. Now, also, I believe this counts as being a black Baby Metal song. Please correct me if I'm still wrong at this point, but if it does, which I think it does, then I think it's a fantastic showcase of that black Baby Metal sound as well, because they got a chorus which is within their singing range, they got verses which, you know, fantastically show that bouncing sound that we always had between Yui and Moa, and, you know, this is just one of those songs where everything, once again, like with BABYMETAL kind of clicks into place, and you have what feels like quite a complete package. Again, it's not perhaps pushing them to the extremes that they get to in some of our higher rated songs, but it is one of those songs where you can't help but feel that there's just nothing wrong with this, and yet it is infectiously fun at the same time. There's energy, there's fun, it's a good showcase to the two girls who are usually at the back of the stage, and to be honest, I can't really see anything that you're not going to like about it unless you've got a real thing against anything that veers too close to nu metal. I really like this one. But anyway, let's move on to number 8. In a lot of ways, Karate doesn't really, again, push Baby Metal in any particular direction. I would actually say that of the songs that we've covered so far on this list, it's probably the most formulaically Baby Metal. The verses, very normal, you've got the sort of normal chorus that they do in big songs like Gimme Chocolate, and, you know, the riffing's all there. It kind of fits inside the nearest thing that I think Baby Metal have to a formula, and yet this one really excels in that way. The chorus is really catchy, but I think this is one of those songs where it pulls in metal fans first of all, because that riff is brilliant. The whole energy is really full on, and, you know, it just kind of, it appeals to both metalers and pop fans, I think, equally. I think anyone can enjoy this song. I think it's a great entry point if you want to listen to Baby Metal for the first time, and certainly that's quite interesting coming on their second album rather than on their first album. So I think that this is one of those songs where you just kind of have to say this is quintessentially very Baby Metal, and therefore I really enjoy it. I think it's a great one. It was one of the ones I listened to. I think it was the first one I listened to after a long time of having not heard Baby Metal. So yeah, it brought me back in, and I think it will bring many other people in as well, if maybe they veered away from Baby Metal thinking, oh, they're not genuine enough, you know, they're not a real enough band, or whatever it is that people say when they want to call things not metal. Anyway, Karate, fantastic song. Let's move on a little bit higher though to number 7. Alright, let me try and pronounce this correctly. Ijime dame zetai. Is it zetai? Yeah, zetai. Anyway, I thought I had to say it once in this review. I've been writing it down as just IDZ or IDZ if you're Japanese. So, American. If you're Japanese, you'd call it what it's actually called. Let me actually talk about the song. So this is a great song for many reasons, but one of the things I really liked about it is that although it perhaps of some of the songs higher up on the list, this is one that maybe appeals to my personal taste a little bit less. I do think there's something very laudable about the way that all three of the girls are included in the song. It has a strong melody that Sue certainly carries. I mean, Sue is really leading the way on this one, but the other two girls in the background, they're not just dancing, they're really adding a lot to this, vocally as well. Now, the song has a real sort of metal feel. which means that for the metal fans, it's going to be something that I think they're all going to love this. I think this is going to be a real popular one with them, and from the feedback I've got, I suspect that's actually the case. Now, if you're more of a pop fan, it might be slightly more alienating, but the thing is that strong melody that, like I say, runs throughout means that it's going to be something where you're going to give it a chance, and I think that this will draw in people who maybe wouldn't listen to this type of music as well. It's kind of the same thing as I was saying about Karate, but this is perhaps slightly more of a unexpected song. I think it pushes people to listen to something perhaps a little bit more left of centre than normal. So this is a really good song in my opinion. I would also point out that it is quite catchy. It's maybe not as catchy as Karate, but I just think it pushes a little bit further by being that tiny little bit more experimental. So great song. And also another thing I point out is obviously when I did the reaction to this, I reacted to the live performance of it, which you guys told me was one of the first big festival live performances Babymetal had done, and I must admit it remains to me probably the best live performance I've seen by the band. And that's partly because of the fact that, you know, usually they have these fantastic pyrotechnics and showmanship going on with all of the lighting and stage effects. It was just amazing to see them carry the song with so little. You know, they were on a common stage used for a festival that other people were using, and they just carried it brilliantly. So in a way, I have a bit of personal bias towards this as well, because it's one of the ones where I saw Babymetal, as the human side of it coming through. The human skill came onto that performance a lot. So that's also pushed it a little bit up in my list as well, because I think it's one of those ones that they carry much better live than maybe it, well, I'm not going to say deserves, but maybe it could be carried by a lesser artist. Anyway, enough of that. We're going to move on to number 6. Now, Gimme Chocolate, I don't know if you guys are expecting this to be higher or lower on the list. Maybe some people will be surprised to see it at number 6. The thing is, though, is that Gimme Chocolate is one of those songs where it's almost iconic of the band. I think Headbanger obviously broke a lot of doors open for them just by being so crazy, but Gimme Chocolate was the first time that you could listen to a song and say, okay, that stands a serious chance of charting and staying in the charts. It had the cross of pop and metal, which they were cementing a lot at the time, and I think still they're pushing boundaries in that particular fusion of sounds. But this was one of the first examples they gave where it just really worked. The pop and the metal went together. The chorus is incredibly catchy. I don't think anyone can forget that chorus. I remember that when I reviewed it for this channel, I was thinking, is this one of the little glimpses of Babymetal I'd heard when they first came out? Because I remember when they first came out, I heard a little bit, but I didn't really dive into it much. And I immediately recognised that chorus. How could you forget? It's brilliant. Now, in the rest of the song, obviously, you've got the really sort of full-on, I'd say there's a sort of riff going, there's a groove to the metal going for the rest of the song, and beautifully, Yui and Moa with those really bizarre vocal things. They just do a great job of lightening it up, because obviously it's not going to come straight in with the chorus. The chorus is actually embedded like a good sort of minute or so into the song, I think. But it's one of those ones where when it starts off, again, you're tempted to listen to more because of the fact that the sound is just, it's so interesting from the start. If you'd just been singing over that riff, it would probably actually be relatively boring, because the riff is not that interesting on its own, but as a counter to those high bouncy vocals from Yui and Moa, it actually becomes very interesting. And that's one of the things that makes Babymetal best, is the ability to contrast sounds. So you have a verse section, and the bridges as well, which is very much about contrasting sounds and crazy synths and heavy low guitars, and then cute, fun, slightly crazy vocals, and then you've got a chorus that just sticks in so hard that it's never going to get out of your head. You're going to remember it every time you hear it, even if it's 50 years from now and you've forgotten all about Babymetal. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. That's number 6 on the list, and like I say, you're going to have to hang on for number 5 to 1. They will be coming next week. Apologies, I did say on one of the previous live streams that they would actually be coming the day after, but due to a bit of a schedule mess up, I have to leave it till next week. So it will be coming out next Saturday. Thank you so much. Get in the comments, tell me what you think, tell me what you're expecting to see in the top 5. If you're watching this live as it comes out now, then there'll be a live stream directly after this video. If not, then check to see, because if you're watching this in the future, the top 5 might already be out. Who knows? As usual, I don't like to get too much into saying the YouTubey things, but if you have watched this and you're waiting for the next part, then it might be a good idea to subscribe. But yeah, seriously, do whatever you want to do. I'm not pressuring you, not online. I'm not like a pressure salesman. It's been really great sharing this with you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys back for the top 5 songs in our top 10 list, which will be coming next Saturday. So once again, thank you so much from here in Japan. Looking forward to seeing you next week. But for now, ciao ciao.